Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, everyone. This is Brother Mushtaq coming at you live for the Happy Strong Family weekly live stream within the second floor of Masjid Darul Iman in Markham. And today with me, I have the Chief Mobilization Officer, Brother Omar Khamissa. Today, we're going to talk up Islamophobia. Now, this is not a news channel, and I might get a little bit terse in my emotions for this episode, but it's for a reason. If you have read about the Newmarket Islamic Center, back on September the 1st, there was an incident with a gentleman who, according to the York Region Police statement, he made threats to a Muslim family and also made threats to actually blow up the Newmarket Islamic Center. And as I was discussing with Brother Omar Khamissa before we went live off air, that for God's sakes, it's 2025. Okay, can we not get past the difference of skin color, of ethnicity, and for God's sakes, can we not get past the fact that, yeah, my religion is different than yours. I may wear a hat. I may have a beard. We have Sister Asia here in the studio. She wears a hijab. Can we really not get past that difference? When we bleed red. For God's sakes, so watch this episode. I encourage everyone to stay for the full hour. Watch this episode. If you know nothing about the NCCM, the National Council of Canadian Muslims, watch this episode. If you know everything there is to know about how to combat Islamophobia, watch this episode. If you are in fact a bigoted person full of hatred who goes out of their way to, denounce Islam and be like, oh, those Muslims, why are they here in my country? Then fucking watch this episode. Yes, I just sweared. Okay, but watch this episode. It will hopefully educate you, provide some information again on, hey, how do we combat Islamophobia? There is such a thing as Islamophobia. It is in fact a hate crime for which you can get charged. So you know what? Now I'll dial it back. Let me introduce or reintroduce Brother Omar. Your smile's all right now because you haven't seen me like this, have you? We've been working together for quite some time on NCCM stuff, but you've never seen me this animated, this boiling red mad, man.
No, alhamdulillah, Brother Mushtaq, thank you so much for having me first and foremost. This, honestly, the studio, I don't know if anyone that's been watching the studio has been to the studio, but mashallah, you guys have done a fantastic job between you, Brother Kashif, the whole team. So thank you for having me. No, I have not seen you that animated. And to be honest with you, it's kind of how we all feel on the inside. That's kind of how we all feel on the inside. It's that just frustration.
Yeah.
That just coming out of that's just boiling out. Our frustration of the fact that, there's places in Canada that we are treated like second-class citizens. Right? And that's sometimes happening in our parking lots, in our homes, in our schools, in our workplaces. And that doesn't even talk about the ones that are happening by government in Quebec.
In the library.
In the library.
A sister, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, a sister's hijab was pulled off. So in the library.
The one in the library is actually, and for those that have not seen that case, it is so much worse than that.
Oh, well, do tell me.
Yeah, Allah. I remember this was in Ramadan and I was in Quebec.
Okay.
We were in Quebec doing our tour of Ramadan. We get on a plane, we go to a different place, we do a talk, we do fundraising. And in those talks, we had our Sheikh, we had Stephen, and we were talking about how the Islamophobic cases are rising in Ramadan. And all of a sudden in Montreal, I got a call about the sister. And the sister was in the library, just doing work in the library at a table. And somebody came to her to try to light her hijab on fire.
Whoa, say that again. Light it on fire.
Yeah, she doused her, try to douse her in gasoline.
Wow.
And then she just couldn't get the lighter to light.
Oh my God.
This is a sister that had kids at home.
Oh my God. Wow.
Like it wasn't like a pull a hijab off situation, which we see like once a week, maybe once every other week. This was a were trying to light her hijab on fire in the public library in Ajax.
So what has happened to this person?
So this person was arrested. This person was taken in. Like, we worked with the Durham police and the library to make sure that stuff like this doesn't happen anymore. But that's the kind of level of cases that's happening.
So Omar, look, tell us, man, like, and again, I will really try to contain the frustration. I'll try to contain, my emotion against this. It hits home, right? And as I was saying off air, born and raised in Canada, okay? My parents came in the 60s. And if you've been watching this weekly live stream, the Happy Strong Family series for what producer Kashif just mentioned, it's been going on for 3 years. Okay. So you've been watching me discuss my own personal family background. I'm an open book. Okay. To the point where I leave myself vulnerable. So born and raised in Canada, parents came in the 60s from India, to the point where people back then, quite frankly, they didn't even consider my dad to be from India. They thought he was Sicilian or he was from the old country. They called him all derogatory names, that were focused on Italians back then. So fast forward, for the first 2 years, they didn't have halal meat. They were actually part of the original group. This is not a myth. This is fact, that actually had to read their Jummah Salah on a Sunday. Now, people like, what the hell? Why? That doesn't make sense. Well, because again, back then, the employers, God bless them, they said, oh, you know what? Our religious day is a Sunday. So you go to your church. You may call it a masjid, mosque, whatever. But hey, you go to your church on a Sunday like the rest of us folk and do your prayers. We have no problem with that. So they actually went to a mufti, the families that were here, however many families, 30, 40, as my dad tells the story. And they said to the mufti in the UK, in England, hey, you know what? Got a problem here. They're not giving us Fridays off yet. So the mufti said, okay, you know what? Focus on getting out the word, educate, and build yourself a masala, get a masala up and running. And then inshallah, once you get the permission, do your Friday prayers, go forth, make the masjid, all that good stuff that we are now reaping the benefit of, right? So my personal story goes that far back, but regardless, if you are born here in Canada, if you're not, if you're an immigrant, whatever the case is, like, let's deconstruct then, Brother Omar. What is Islamophobia? Okay. And this now being September, you have a renewed sense of, hey, new year, new school year, new university year, at the office, it's, back from personal time off, vacation, kind of this new vibe, right? So let's put a positive spin on it with the lens of, okay, I may be facing Islamophobia at work or at school. What's the definition exactly? You tell us.
Yeah. So I think, as you're saying your story, it reminds me of a lot of mine. So I was born and bred here in Canada as well. My parents came in the 70s.
Okay.
So right after you guys. And then we grew up in Aurora. There was a whole 3 of us that were in my grades that were Muslim.
Yeah.
Or in my school, actually, that was Muslim.
Yeah.
Right. It was a group of 3 of us that were praying Salah together. That was not eating it at lunchtime. So I'm right on board with you. And when my family came in, I think it was the exact same thing. They were building the musallas in the basement. I know my grandparents were both part of the first year of the Memmon Society of Canada. Like, they were all part of the exact same conversation. There was nobody here, right? So it's been a work in progress since then. And I think, we started this nicely. And for those that don't know what NCCM actually does, NCCM is a organization that spreads across Canada. It spreads across Canada. It works from coast to coast. It works in many different places. We have our legal team. We have our government relations team. We have our education team. We have our, what did I miss? We have our legal team, and we have our development team.
Okay.
Right. So the legal team obviously takes care of cases, Islamophobic cases. Education team is the one that will have a big conversation. I think one of the topics that we want to talk about is family, schools, what's happening when people are going back. We have our government relations team that does advocacy across the country. And then obviously we have our development team that helps keep the lights on. and then engage and mobilize the community. Right. And that's kind of where we all kind of fall in that place. But as we go into kind of deconstruct this, as we kind of start school back, and we look at like, what does Islamophobia mean? How does it show up? How does, it show up in different kind of places?
Yeah.
Right. And like, there's a lot of intersectionality between Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, anti-Palestinian racism.
Okay.
Right? There's Islamophobia, and then there's gendered Islamophobia against females.
Right.
I'm getting to wear a suit today. Walking down the street, sometimes I don't get identified as a Muslim besides my beard.
Yeah.
Right. But my wife, your wife, our moms, when they're walking down, they don't have a choice.
Yeah.
They see a hijab. It goes. I often say when we have a conversation about Islamophobia, it's the folks that are committing Islamophobia, like the non-Muslims or the bigoted people or whoever is deciding that they want to do this act of hate, be it the Ajax Library or the London Mosque or the London Family or the IMO Mosque or what you mentioned about Newmarket. They have no idea the difference between us Muslims.
Yes.
They have no idea. They just see a hijab. They see the way that you're dressed today with your beard and your topi and your thobe. They don't ask what kind of mosque you go to. They don't ask if you are Sunni or Shia.
Right.
They don't ask if your hands are up or down, if your name is Omar or Ali. They just see you different.
Yeah.
Right. And
as the other.
Yeah. Right. There's often a saying that I say is, when you talk about other people of the book, it's like they're of one heart.
Right.
You say something about Isa alayhi salam,
Jesus,
everybody is going to have something to say.
100%.
But sometimes for us Muslims, if it's an attack against a Somali Muslim in Edmonton, only the Somali community in Edmonton will speak up.
Right.
If it's a Shia Muslim in Thornhill, there was a mosque in Thornhill that had a bomb scare 1.5 years ago, a Shia mosque.
Oh, goodness.
And only the Shia community said something about it.
Right.
And I think one thing that we have learned about how to go against Islamophobia is that we have 1.8 million Muslims in Canada.
Yes. Repeat that number again.
1.8 million Muslims.
Okay.
When there are 1.8 million Muslims in Canada, when we say that same voice that enough is enough, we're not going to be treated like second-class citizens.
Yeah.
Your daughter, when she goes to school, should not be treated differently because she wears the hijab.
Right.
Or because she looks differently, or her name is a little bit different.
Right. Or she's wearing a Palestinian scarf.
Or wearing, ya Allah, the amount of cases we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Like, this incident happened in Scarborough with Brother Nadeem and his family.
Yes.
Right? Like, we know what the things that are happening right now in Scarborough, where it's majority Muslim community.
Yeah.
Right. And if you kind of deconstruct it, it's looking at like, how is it still treated like the other?
Right.
How is it still treated like not in the fabric of society? I grew up playing ice hockey. I grew up eating steak and baked potatoes. Like, I grew up in Aurora. I don't have an accent because my family did not even teach me a different language. I don't even speak Urdu or Gujarati or Memon or Kutchi. I speak English only, and we're still treated like the other.
Look, I'll tell you a personal story. In the early 2000s, I was working for a particular magazine, and I was in the Yorkville area. All right. Bloor, Yorkville, all that. You have all the very high-end stores there, all the designer stores. And so I was meeting with somebody, and very, very almost microaggression-like, he said very gently, "Where are you from?" "Yeah, I'm coming in from Mississauga." And then he said a little bit more, with pause and a little bit more, I guess, tone in his voice. He goes, "No, where are you from?" And I go, "Oh," he kind of put more emphasis on the from. And I said, "Oh, that question. Okay, let me break it down for you." And again, the story I've already mentioned, right? You don't hear any accent in my voice because my parents came in the 60s. I was born and raised here. And then he was all flustered. He's like, "Oh, no, I didn't mean it that way." And I said, "No, actually you did, but I'm not offended. No worries." And then we carried on our conversation. So to your point, Omar, again, we're not aliens. We're not the other. We're 2 million, close to 2 million voting Canadians, or whatever the percentage is. It's almost 2 million Muslims that are Canadians. End of story. So if you are in public service, if you are a politician, if you are in a by-ward election, Pay attention. There are 2 million Muslims in Canada as we speak. Note that number. Now,
Yeah, and
tell us.
I think you could see that in the last election, to be honest with you. Like, if you could see in the last election, the Muslims decided that they were not going to be silenced in this last election, right? Like, they were going to go out there
100%
and ask the hard questions of who is going to actually talk about Palestine.
Yeah.
There were people I talked to that it was a one-issue election last election. Right. And I think that is the conversation that we need to have. Right. And I sorry, I interrupted you. I know you're going to talk about it, but that's exactly like what you mentioned right there.
So let's take a step back.
Okay.
Again, I really need you to put your NCCM hat on, the National Council of Canadian Muslims. Okay. And tell us, what is the working definition for NCCM of Islamophobia? Okay. Because again, I want this to be a very educational episode. Because again, we're on this episode, we have bigots, we have people who are racist, we have people who are Muslim, non-Muslim, we have people who all bleed red, but maybe they're on the fence. Maybe like how you and I are discussing, be like, these Muslims are taking over my country. They're taking over my jobs. I don't like people who wear their hijab. I don't like people who wear the beard. Why can't they just be clean shaven like me? So Omar, tell us the definition of Islamophobia.
Yeah, so the definition of Islamophobia actually has been something that's been going back and forth.
Okay.
So it's something that the community has kind of gone back and forth. And there was actually the Ontario Human Rights Commission has a working definition that they kind of use as Islamophobia that most people have adapted. But in terms of the community, it's one of those things that there's actually a study out right now to try to examine the exact definition of Islamophobia. The working definition that we use is very simple.
All right.
If you are treated differently, harassed, discriminated because of your faith or how you look like, or how you look, what you talk like, how you act, it is considered Islamophobia. Now, there's actually places where there's Islamophobia that happens to non-Muslims. The Sikh community typically and often actually gets treated with Islamophobia remarks because of the way that they look.
Yeah.
Because of their beard, because of their
turban.
The turban, they actually get talked like they are actually Muslims, and they get faced with Islamophobia all the time.
Right.
So Islamophobia sometimes doesn't have like only to Muslims. Like if you saw, there was videos of, I think there were people at Muslim Fest, and I think Jagmeet Singh came one time to Muslim Fest, and he was taught like, why are you Muslims here? And may Allah bless some of the Sikh people. They don't even say we're not Muslim. They just say this is not right to say.
Yeah.
Right. This is not right. You can't be talking to people like this.
Yeah.
Right. Some of the folks in that community are like the nicest, down to earth people in the world. And they will be like, they don't say we're not Muslim. They just say, no, it's okay. Like, that's not how you talk to people. Right. But that's kind of the working definition. If you are treated in your school, in your work, in your life differently because of your look, your name, your style, any kind of discrimination, any kind of like that. Right. So that's the working definition that we go with. So when it comes to Islamophobia, if somebody is discriminated because they identify as Muslim, and that's the word we use, identify as Muslim.
Got it.
In any kind of aspect.
Okay.
That's where we kind of will jump in.
Okay.
And until there's like a better working definition that the Muslim community is putting together, that's the one we're going to go with.
All right. So now let's look at some consequence. Let's make this consequential. All right. Say someone goes out of the way. Again, they don't know enough. Maybe they've been raised in a vacuum under a rock. I'm obviously exaggerating here. Again, I'm going to say it again and again until I'm blue in the face. It's 2025. Okay. But hey, to have cases like somebody utter death threats, right? Somebody to say, and I'm not making this up, Google it. Go to the York Region Police website now or during this episode or after, or if you're watching it on YouTube, go to the York Region Police website. I am not making this up. You will see the announcement there. This person actually said he's going to blow up a mosque, a masjid, a place of worship. Okay. So these are real incidents. Like you said, a person had a canister of gasoline. They brought it into the public library and tried to light a person's hijab on fire. This is not an episode of Twisted Metal where, Sweet Tooth the Clown is putting, gasoline on himself to let his head on fire. No, this is real life, right? This is real life. So tell us, should somebody be twisted enough or uneducated enough or just filled with so much hate? With so much hate, they're going to run over with a pickup truck an entire family who happen to be Muslims, what are the consequences? What are the hard consequences
Yeah, so I think
legally?
I think there's it's a two-step approach. First, I think there's significantly not enough of these incidents that are even reported, right? So I think like our Muslim community is a very forgiving community, right? So I think it starts from understanding that like as a community, we need to start reporting these more often. Because I think it might actually be what you're saying. Like people are a little bit afraid to report because they don't think there's going to be any consequences.
Okay.
So typically with our community, we only report at a rate of 33% of the hate crimes that we actually get.
Wow.
So only 33% of the hate crimes that we get, whether they're in schools, on the streets, there's been times where my family has been harassed and they didn't call me.
Okay.
And I'm like, guys, please call me next time. Like,
oh my goodness.
just give me a phone call. I will look after it.
Is there a hotline or an email address? Say it now, man.
The number one thing is just to go to nccm.ca/report.
Okay.
Or call me directly. For people on this call, you guys can get my number from Brother Mushtaq. My number is readily available. You call me, I will make sure this looked after. So that's the first thing.
Okay.
It's just report. Get a lawyer on the call, get me on the call. Let's make sure that we are actually taking the proper steps.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing is how it actually looks after.
Okay.
So once we have that situation where it gets reported, typically you get reported to NCCM, and we'll also recommend to call the police as well. So there's a two-step process. One, so you can call the police and they can do the investigation. Two, you call us so we can put pressure on the police, the politicians, everything like that. Now, truthfully, there has been cases and situations where we have seen no movement from the police or slow movement from the police. Right. A very good example is situations where a situation will happen and they'll investigate it, but they won't investigate it for a hate crime. They'll just investigate the situation.
Okay.
Which is one of the reasons why you want to get NCCM involved.
Right.
Is because we'll call the police and we'll call the politicians and then we'll get it pushed as a hate crime.
Right. Right.
Now, in terms of actual, like the actual consequences.
Yes.
Situation in London, the guy's still in jail. Okay. That was a full taken. He's been in jail. They have a full lawsuit case with him. The legal stuff were taken care of. The situation in Quebec, he's in jail. Like those are murders.
Yes.
There's no two ways about it. Those are murders. Now there are situations where is places where the guy in the IMO mosque, he's in jail, right? So the consequences for doing these kind of things actually do happen.
Okay.
Now again, it's the situation where as a community, we need to have our voices heard, right? So one of the things that will cause like more movement is when the community together says we need more movement.
100%.
Right? So like the situation that's happening in Newmarket right now.
Right.
That guy was arrested. Now it's what's happening next, right? And that's why there's going to be a press conference coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow there's going to be a press conference. What's today's Sunday, right?
Today's Sunday.
Tomorrow there's going to be a press conference.
All right.
We're going to have community push. We're going to have politicians push. We're going to have everyone push to make sure that this guy gets charged, convicted, everything happens for him. Right. For the hate crimes, because that's what we need to do. And it only happens again. That's kind of what I always say with the 1.8 million. Right. If we have 1.8 million Muslims all saying that we're not going to take it, that is actually how you get stuff done.
Right.
Right. Because like a very good example, 1.8 million Muslims. And let's use Palestine as a very good example.
Sure.
Right. Palestine is a very good example of 1.8 million voices being heard.
Yes. Right.
October 7th happens.
Yes.
Every school, every politician, every employer has the standard statement that everyone says, right? Everyone says Israel is our friend, release the hostages.
Yes.
And then there were Muslims protesting every single week.
Right.
Every single week they are protesting. And Muslims were emailing, Muslims were sending messages, Muslims were calling, non-Muslims were calling. Everyone in the community is calling.
Yes.
I remember from September to December in NCCM servers alone, we sent 100 million emails from the community to politicians.
Okay.
100 million emails.
Okay.
In December or January at the UN vote, 3 months after the conflict, Canada votes that Palestine should be its own state.
Impact.
How does it go from there to there?
Right.
Is 1.8 million Muslims.
Yes.
How do you make sure situations like London don't happen? 1.8 million Muslims.
Good point.
Right now in Quebec, they're talking about expanding Bill 21. They're talking about banning prayer on the streets.
Okay.
How do you make that not possible? 1.8 million Muslims.
Right. So now I do want to get to questions.
Yes.
We already the question board that producer Kashav here has on the side panel with our TV screens here in the studio. I can see already a number of questions. But just tell us, and again, I've been super fortunate, super blessed to be with you and the NCCM team doing advocacy and all that good stuff. I'm always available whenever you guys need me. So tell us about Bill C-21. Tell us about what the government of Quebec is not only doing with the bill in terms of Muslims, but anyone who wants to have a religious identity.
So Bill 21 came in a few years ago.
Yeah.
It's not a bill anymore. For anyone that's in Quebec that's going to try to, that knows, it's not a bill, it's a law. It's now Law 21.
Okay.
It's still called Bill 21 because it's been the name that we've kind of picked up, but it's actually Law 21.
Okay.
And the law that says if you wear your religious symbol, you cannot work in government office.
Okay, religious symbol meaning?
Hijab.
All right.
Kippah.
Turban.
A cross of a certain size.
A cross
of a certain size.
Okay.
Of a certain size. If it's a bigger cross, no, they have an image of what the size that you can wear.
Oh goodness. Okay.
And you can't be a government lawyer. You can't be a teacher.
Okay.
You can't be a policeman, firefighter.
Wow.
So in terms of being a teacher, we know teachers. We have Sister Fatima Anvari, who was a teacher in Gatineau, that is no longer a teacher. We've had people that have left Montreal. There was a study done by the Islamophobia Research Hub at York University under Dr. Nadia Hassan.
Yes.
That I believe it said there that the amount of economy that left Quebec was in the billions.
In the billions.
With a B.
Okay.
That left Quebec because of this law. And now they're talking about expanding it. And they're talking about of adding stuff like you cannot go pray in the streets. Like you're going out with your family to the park, to an amusement park. You can't just stop and start praying Salah. And that's what they're talking about expanding it to right now.
It's hard to believe. Again, like I said, it's
2025,
right? In Canada.
In Canada.
This is not some kind of, unknown backwards country.
Like my sister went to school to be a teacher.
Okay.
If she was in Quebec, her dream of being a teacher would be say no more.
Right.
She'd be like, okay, she would be in school or going to become a teacher, spending all this time in school being a teacher. No mas. Go home, change your career, or leave your province.
All right. Okay. So let's use this time now.
Let's
Mr. Kashif, let's go through some questions, please.
Well, the questions are coming in. I know, Brother Mushtaq, we want one of the questions when we started this conversation. I know Brother Kasha was talking about it was just like the impact in schools.
Yeah.
Right. And as we're waiting for the questions to come in, one of the impacts of schools is the amount of cases that are coming in. I was talking to our education team. I think it was in January last year. That said there was a 900% increase of incidents that happened in schools.
A 900% increase.
Yeah. So across NCCM since October 7th, there's been an 1800% increase, but in schools it's a 900% increase. Okay. And those are cases like valedictorian speeches that got cut short. Those are cases like somebody wearing a kafia, but there are a lot of physical cases that happen too. There were cases of kids that got beaten up, came home with bloody noses, that because they said that they're not part of any organization overseas, or just because they said Free Palestine, or just because they said they wore a kafia to school, they came with beaten up. There's kids that have they're been made fun of and mocked. There's been kids that are scared to go back to school.
So Omar, okay, let's deconstruct this. And I think this is a solid segue to do that. Look, Muslims, in terms of our own holy book, the Quran, and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad. And yes, it has to be said, we believe in every prophet. A lot of people probably don't know this, but we do believe in Jesus. We do believe in Noah. We do believe in Adam, our forefather. So we believe in all the prophets. That's not an issue, okay? We too have a holy book like the Bible. It's called the Quran. It's available in every language. I've even seen a Quran in Braille. There are audiobooks of the Quran. The Quran is accessible in every language known to man, okay? So let me ask you this. In terms of a Muslim, do we not believe in the sanctity of human life?
Yes.
We do. Okay. Do we not believe that every human life is precious?
Yes.
We do. And in fact, the Quran teaches us that should you go ahead and end the life of one person, it's as if you've ended
all of humanity.
All of humanity. So whenever Muslims or non-Muslims, or I've been to those protests, and I shook the hand of every single person who held that banner, Jews for Palestine. And they were grateful. So let me ask you this: Muslim, Jew, Christian, Buddhist, seems all these people believe in peace, love, harmony. So when we as Muslims say, Israel, I'm going to get really hard here. Israel has the right to defend itself. Okay. But in terms of the people who are dying in Gaza, that's another issue. In terms of the famine, the genocide, that's another issue. So let's bring it back full circle, bring it back home now. If a Muslim says, hey, I want to wear my kafiyah, I want to support Palestine, what does it mean in terms of anti-Palestinian racism? Again, because as a Muslim Canadian, you're supporting the fact that everyone has a right to live. Everyone. Whether you're Palestinian, whether you're Jewish, you have a right to live. You don't want to be bombarded. You don't want your homes and your hospitals and the schools to be turned into rubble. You don't want to go through a famine. So if you as a human being on the side of humanity say, you know what, hey, I'm supporting these people. I'm going to wear a kafaya, which is a scarf. I'm going to say, hey, free Palestine. I'm going to go in some marches. I'm going to peacefully protest.
You wear a watermelon pin and get
wear a watermelon
pin.
So what does it mean in terms of anti-Palestinian racism? That's a term I think many people just aren't aware of. And again, if you're in the corporate world, if you're a lawyer, if you're that racist person that just needs to hear this and your blood is boiling right now because you're going to do something, keep watching, please.
Yeah, so you're 100% correct. Like the amount of cases of APR that have come up, especially since October 7th, are insane. The amount of people that have been fired from work because they posted something on their social media, the amount of lawyers or law students that have been dismissed because of a post on social media that said free Palestine, or put a post of a watermelon, or people harassed because they've worn a watermelon pin or worn a shirt.
Yeah.
Right. And, in terms of like the definition of APR and how it shows up, let's be very frank. Both of us are not Palestinian. And when we're having that conversation, we should always have a Palestinian that's present.
Of course.
Right. So I would recommend everybody to reach out to their Palestinian friends and families to talk about the impacts that have happened.
Well said.
Right. That's the first step. One of the people that work at NCCM, Ahmed Al-Qadi, he is Palestinian. And whenever we have these conversations about APR, how it shows up in any way, we make sure that he's in the conversation.
Okay.
There shouldn't be a South African talking about APR. But at the same time, let's talk about how APR shows up.
Yes.
And South Africa is a very good example.
Okay.
Right? South Africa went through apartheid.
Yeah.
Right? And when it was going through apartheid, people were not saying, we cannot talk about this apartheid. You cannot talk about Nelson Mandela. You cannot talk about making sure that South Africa is not going through this segregation. Right? It was actually a conversation. Ukraine's another example. Sudan is another example.
Ireland.
Rohingya, Ireland, all are very good examples.
Yeah.
Right? Because APR shows up in many different ways. It shows up in our school system. It shows up in our work system. It shows up to people on the streets. It shows up in systemic ways, and how the education system even talks about it.
Yeah.
How it shows up on maps, on Google Maps somehow. It shows up in many different ways how APR shows up. Right? And what it is, it's taking up people's existence and pretty much saying that they don't have the right to talk about their existence.
Right. Or they don't exist at all.
They don't exist at all.
Because of some preordained political boundaries.
And
or maybe some current political figure saying, hey, it's not the Gulf of Mexico, it's the Gulf of America, idiot.
It just takes it away from their existence. And these are like people, human people that just want to live on their land, be home.
Yeah. They
just want to be home.
That's it.
All they're asking for is to go back home.
That's it.
Right. And the fact that we are struggling to say yes to them just wanting to go back home is the craziest thing to me. When we visited Palestine last year in January, and we never were able to get into Gaza, but this was like during the war. This was after October 7th. We went with a bunch of politicians, some of the major organizations, into Palestine. But before we went into Palestine, we were in Jordan.
Okay.
And in Jordan, we went to some of the refugee camps.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, they're not refugee camps. They are places that these families are stuck. These are families that left at the first Nakba in 1947. They have been sitting in these refugee camps, quote unquote refugee camps, that are actually like buildings that they've been living there now for 60, 70, 80 years.
Wow.
And when you talk to them, they have two choices. They stay here and kind of live in perpetuity. They'll never get a visa anywhere else. They have to live here, or they go home and there's a chance they die.
Right.
Those are their options of life. They want to, they don't want to go anywhere else because they want to stay as close to the border as possible so they can go home. But they also have these little children that are in their families and they don't know where to go. So when we talk about how APR shows up, when we talk about what anti-Palestinian racism looks like, when we talk about why people wear a watermelon pin
or a scarf, kafaya,
it's to say these people deserve to go back home because that's the land that they want to go back to.
And that you recognize them. And that you recognize humanity.
And that you recognize that they're going through a genocide, a famine. Right, the UN says it's a plausible genocide.
You know,
but the UN did come out and say it's a man-made famine last week.
Okay, good.
Right, and you know, I always hear like these kind of conversations about what Palestine is, right, and about like what the situation is in Palestine. And let me tell you guys, as the person that went there, in the middle of this war, So there's two stories, and I'll share that, and then we can go jump to our.
Please.
I see the question about I can see the question about the pizza. We can definitely have a conversation about that.
Please.
In Palestine, there's two stories I want to give you. One is, again, before we went into Palestine, we were in Jordan.
Okay.
And in Jordan, we went to the UNRWA school.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people watching and yourself, you know what UNRWA is. There's been a lot of conversation about UNRWA. The funding goes on, the funding goes off, the funding goes on, the funding goes off. But as a person that's seen what UNRWA does, it is a lifeblood to the people in Palestine, in Gaza, and to the refugees.
A United Nations agency, right?
And United Nations agency. That's a school. This is a school that helps educate these students. And we saw the kids that they learn from. We saw the teachers. And and there's one story that the director of education for UNRWA, when they were there, told us. She said this 9-year-old girl came up to her and said, you know, teacher, I'm so glad that you teach us all this stuff, math, science, social sciences, history, human rights, everything. But why do you teach us human rights when we don't get to see any?
Oh, yeah.
And when I come back to Canada and I see 900% increase,
right?
When I see our education team, who I always define as our education team as like these, you know, kindergarten teacher energy. They're always excited. They're always happy. Lose their smiles. Yeah. Having to go on leave because they can't take the amount of parents that are calling them crying. I ask us the same question. When are our kids going to come to us and say, Baba, Mama, why do you teach us about human rights, inclusion, equity, diversity when we don't get to see that kind of stuff? Right? That is what I took from that.
Yeah, you know, just a few weeks back, I'm very passionate, very adamant about human principles. And I said, look, in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, we are not the United States. Okay, we can say that word. We believe in diversity. Our Charter of Rights and Freedoms is a supporting document to the Constitution. Look it up. Educate yourself. Our country is built on multiculturalism. In Canada, we can say diversity, equity, inclusion. We are not the United States, right? We are not the United States. So now, Omar, please tell us, continue what you were about to say.
So that was the first story. Like that one, I think will stick with me forever. And I think that will actually always be with me of talking about the work that we do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not ready for my children to come to me and my nieces and nephews to come to me in 5, 10, 15 years and say, why are you teaching us this stuff if we don't get to see this stuff?
Right.
Why are we acting this way if I get treated differently? Just because my name is Muhammad or Fatima or Zainab or I wear the hijab, why are you teaching us to treat everyone equally?
Yeah.
That I'm never going to be okay with.
And don't think that, look, you know, the numbers speak for themselves. You've already said a few times, 900. 900%.
And that's
increase.
Just in schools.
In schools.
That's not Islamophobia, period. That's in cases in schools.
You know, that is heart-wrenching.
That is
a place where you teach.
Where it's supposed to be a safe place for the kids to go and learn and then come home.
And then we wonder out loud, like, where are these hardened criminals? You know, where are these people who, you know, are doing bad things? Where are they learning this from? Right? Apparently, evil is not born. It's made, right?
Yeah, it's a bigger study that needs to happen of how that where it comes, whether it's from our social media, whether it's from our home, whether from the school. I think it's a big conversation to have. But the second story, going back to Palestine and talking about APR, was, and I think when we went to Jenin when we were there.
And where is Jenin?
Jenin is in the northern Palestine.
Okay.
It's still West Bank.
Okay.
You'll see Jerusalem, Bethlehem's on the south side.
Got it.
You go north about a 2-hour drive north, an hour and a half with checkpoints is about 2 hours north.
Yeah. Got it.
Jenin, ya Allah, Jenin was one of those places that I think the view of when we walked into Jenin will stick with me forever. First, you have to go down this big hill. There's no road, there's no plumbing, there's no water, there's no garbage. Those things are just on the side of the road. You step out of the car when you get to Jenin, and you go into mud that's like this thick. It's just muddy roads.
Oh.
And when you get there and look into the street, you understand, you don't understand what's happening in Gaza, but you see a world that seems like it's an apocalypse. On the left side, you see an UNRWA school on fire. On the right side, you see a new cemetery that's for only people under the age of 18 that is full already.
Oh, God.
You see a road that is broken up, and you see the city of Jenin with every single building with a minimum of 1,000 bullet holes in it. And it's still a city people are living in because they have nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And for me, that explained everything that we saw. Families that are still trying to live here.
Yeah.
These children that are crying, and these parents are crying at their graves of their kids that are under 18. The hospital that is shut down.
Right.
Water tanks that have bullet holes in it. Houses that have bullet holes in it, and families that are still living here because they have nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And when somebody says, why do we wear those pins? Why do we wear the kafiyas? It's because nobody should be living in a place like that.
100%.
They should to live in Jenin, but they should not be scared that someone's going to come in and start shooting up.
Yeah.
They should not be scared that they're not going to have no idea where to get their food from.
Yeah.
And this is not even Gaza. This is not even what's the worst. This might be 1% of what's happening in Gaza.
Everyone has a right to live.
They have a right to live.
They have a right to live.
That's it. That's what when somebody wears a kafia, it's saying they have the right to live.
Yeah.
And that's it.
All right. So now, Producer Kashif, please, let's get into these questions.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Before we get to the questions, I'll just show some contact information. I've been displaying it on the screen.
Great. Thank you.
But here we have nccm.ca. If you, Brother Omar, if you can just tell us a little bit about what the audience can look forward to and how they can stay in touch, what kind of support you need.
Yeah, of course.
There's nccm.ca. I encourage everyone to check that out. And on Instagram, nccm_community. So I'll just let you talk about a little bit more about how the community can support these efforts.
Yeah, I would say if you go back to the website here, you can see on the top, there'll be the report the incident button, which exactly is what to do. If there's a case of an emergency that you have, a situation that happens, you just click that report the incident button, fill out the incident. It should take a second to load. There we go. Fill out that form there, have anything that's happened, put it up there. You'll get a contact from one of our lawyers. Again, there's a lot of cases that we have coming in, so they'll get a hold of you as soon as possible. Obviously, there's everything else on this website. You can book workshops. You can volunteer with us. We have lots of ways that you can volunteer, whether it's advocacy volunteers, which we have the advocate. I think you're part of the advocacy volunteers, correct? Where you're going to meet your local politicians with an NCCM rep, your mayor, city councilors, your MPPs, MPs. If you're in Alberta, your MLAs, wherever you are, you're meeting your local politicians, your reps when they're going for election. So in Calgary right now, they're doing a mayoral election.
Right.
Our team is with our volunteers, our advocacy volunteers are meeting with everyone that's running for an election.
Excellent.
So you can volunteer with us, whether it's you want to do as little as data entry or as little as volunteering at an event to as much as you want to go meet your politicians with us, fill out the volunteer form. Again, you can report the incident there, and I would say that the number one thing is follow us on the social media channels, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok. You can join our community spaces, our community WhatsApp groups. There should be a link on our website, but I don't see it there anymore. So maybe it's just come down right now since we redid our website. But you can also message what we can put in the WhatsApp group for everybody.
Great.
I know you guys have a WhatsApp group, so you can put it in the WhatsApp group and send it over there. Get involved, to be honest with you. Get involved because, again, that 1.8 million number is actually a little crazy. And talking about the advocacy groups, groups is a very good way that our regular community gets involved. People listening to this, people that are, watching at home, yourself, everyone has full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Right. It's hard to be like, how do I get active on a weekend when the politicians are working on a weekend? Right. And the advocacy groups are, I think, the number one way to actually get to do that. The advocacy groups we have these groups across the country. So you can be part of a local advocacy group. And what that local advocacy group does is it meets about once a month with a different politician.
Great.
Right. So if you are interested in getting involved, we'll send it there. You get the training for it. You get a briefing beforehand. You get the briefing notes. We make sure everyone is on that kind of same page. And then what happens is we go out and we do it all together.
All right.
Right. So
good to know.
For Mushtaq, you're in Markham here.
Yep.
I think anyone that's watching or listening, join those advocacy groups, because then you can go out, get your voice heard, meet your politicians, talk about issues that really matter.
Yeah.
Right now we're talking about CRA, right? And CRA oversight, right? And for those that don't know, the CRA has, over history has kind of unfairly targeted Muslim charities. We're making sure that there's oversight bodies that actually don't make that happen.
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of different cases that are happening, and that's kind of how you can get involved right in the grassroots level.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Now, Producer Kashif, there was something about a pizza store that
I think there was the question about the Oshawa pizza, the incident that happened at the Oshawa Pizza.
Oh my, what was that? What is this all about? Oh goodness. Okay.
So I think that was one of the questions that came up here. Right there, it says, "What about the hijabi pizza store owner in the East who was beaten?" So in Oshawa, about a month and a half ago.
Okay.
There was an incident where this Muslim pizza owner was beaten up. Like a group of 10 to 12 young kids, boys and girls, came in and started harassing her.
Okay.
Jumped over the counter, pulled her hijab off, stomped on her neck.
Oh.
It was incredibly brutal. That was a case that, since that question is being asked, that we did we threw everything. We talked to the police, helped the investigation.
There was security footage, obviously.
Security footage of the pizza showed everything.
Okay.
The girls the kids that have done it, the boys and the girls have been arrested. They're all minors. Right. So it's a little bit different in terms of what they're charging with and what the actual conviction is going to be.
Yeah.
But this happened in the middle of the night. Actually, yeah, it was a month ago because it was Canada Day. It was the night of Canada Day, or the day before Canada Day.
Oh,
so that 2 months ago now. But alhamdulillah, the sister, the mom that actually did that this had happened to, may Allah reward her and give her the continued strength. One of the strongest people that we knew. She was back at the store the next day.
The next day she
was back at the store. She's like, I have to provide for my family. Like, may Allah reward her and keep her safe.
Yeah.
The next day.
And there you go. Look, at the end of the day, look, that's a Canadian value. Okay, whether you rock the headscarf or not, whether you're a pizza store owner, a president of a Fortune 500 company, at the end of the day, as Canadians, all 1.8 million of us Muslim Canadians, we all pay our taxes, right? We all just want an honest job. We want to provide for our families.
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's it. We're not the alien here. We are not the other.
Like, I have to go look after my family.
Awesome.
Right. But, that case was a traumatic case. And like, she's still like, there's still like PTSD. There's still a physio rehab that she's going through. That is still a case that we're still in contact with the family.
Good.
But, that is one of those cases that kind of, to what the question asked and what we spoke about, it's one of those cases that we'll look at, we'll be part of it. We'll make sure it happens. And that was a case that in the beginning, the police were going a little bit slower. Again, police there's a lot of cases that come into the police. Having a little pressure from us helps, again, push forward faster, make sure hate crimes are looked after, everything like that as well.
Yeah. Okay, good. Producer Kashif, some more questions, please.
Yes, for sure. I'm going to skip ahead to some of the live ones instead of the Instagram ones in case people are still watching.
Yeah.
So this one was saying, work for one of Canada's most diverse and largest corporations. Since 2023, the bulletin board in the office have had hostage kidnap posters. I think they're referring to those, the ones with the red headings, the Zionist propaganda posters, or for the missing hostages, that have triggered a lot of us for 2 years. Everyone afraid to take them down ourselves. What steps do you recommend without becoming target at work or impacting employment? Otherwise, all is okay.
Yeah, so I can understand where you're coming from with that question. I can understand that you don't want to kind of flag it for yourself because, again, I think you said it was one of the most, like, the biggest companies, right? Yeah, you don't want to lose your job.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull it down because there's a situation where you lose your job for it. I think those are one of those things that it's essential to report to NCCM, because NCCM can come in and have that conversation with the company.
Okay.
Right. So in that conversation, and for anyone for the gentleman that's listening, call us. Put that incident in the report. There's a situation where we can have that conversation with their HR rep, with their administration, with their C-level, with their executives, and we can be that kind of situation where we go in and say, we've got reports of this. Let's have a conversation about having an inclusive work environment for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that kind of gives you that safe place where it doesn't have to come back to you, but it can just say, we got this picture and we got this report. We'd like to have a conversation. Right. And a lot of that time, and, we've had these conversations, and thinking back to it, whether it's even MSAs, whether it's even MSA students, whether it's even students at university that are a little scared to kind of make a noise or bring up something because of a prayer space issue or something they've seen on campuses, they often call us to be like, can you come in and kind of be that voice that can be a little bit more heavy-handed, a little bit more legal, bring the legal side in, bring the government side in.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of quote unquote be a little bit more of like the good cop, bad cop kind of thing, because we're not there at that workplace. We're not that student in that school. Yeah. We can't get fired from that workplace.
Look, at the end of the day, you have the heft, the weight, and the knowledge to bring a legal team.
Exactly.
Look, at the end of the day, we're all human.
Exactly.
And if I say to you, Omar, you know what? Look, I'm just going to bring my lawyers into this.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, shit hit the fan real fast, didn't it?
I even think having the conversation, if you want to be that person that goes out and has that conversation, what you can also say is, I can bring NCCM into the conversation. Like if you are willing to do it. But again, there's been situations this past year where a doctor or a healthcare professional got fired because they put a Quranic ayah on their Instagram. A Quranic ayah.
Wow.
So like if you're a little bit afraid to like put that up, I don't blame you. You have to support your families. But that's where you call us. You call us, say, okay, Brother Omar, let's go talk to this conversation. Let's go talk to these big organizations. Come into the meetings. We can have those conversations and see what actually happens.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. All right. Producer Kashif, some more questions, please.
Yes, Jazakallah khair. So there was a question here. How do you respond to being pro-terrorist or pro-Hamas when expressing Palestinian solidarity?
Yeah, good question. Good question.
Yeah, honestly, I think in the moment it's just about de-escalating it, because it's just going to get out of hand. Like if you're in that situation and someone's coming up to you and saying that and yelling at your face, if you push back at all, you're starting to fight back, it's just going to lead to an actual confrontation that's there. I think the moment is like, I always tell people, pull out your phone and start recording no matter what. The first thing when any incident happens, whether it's Islamophobia, anti-Black racism, anti-Palestinian racism, anything, pull out your phone. Pull out your phone so there's actual documented evidence of exactly what's happening, so that there's no he said, she said at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then just de-escalate. Just leave the place, get in your car, go away. Because as soon as you start yelling back, as soon as you start saying anything, it's just going to become hostile.
Good advice.
So start pulling that phone out and then just de-escalate in that moment. Because again, I don't want a situation where someone is getting harassed or beaten up or physical assaulted, right? Like in that moment, it's just get in your car and leave. Now, if it's a place that is like a school, a work, there has to be a bigger conversation that goes up to the upper levels. But say it's on the street. I'm going to assume this conversation is someone that's walking around the street with their kafia on, or with a pin, or with a shirt. Like in those situations, let's go to de-escalation first, but record everything.
Okay.
Record, de-escalate. If it's a place that, it's a school, a workplace, a public place, like let's just say like it's a worker at a train station, or a worker at a store that's happening like that, record everything, report it, and then let's look after it. But if it's on the street, let's always de-escalate first.
Okay. Good advice.
I'll ask a question on my behalf of a conversation I was having with like someone in the family a few months ago. She's a mother to a university age student. She's very proud of her daughter and her advocacy and organizing things and protesting and doing everything. But she's like, one argument her and her daughter have constantly is like her daughter wearing the kafia in public, especially when she's alone, because she goes on the TTC, she goes on the thing. So her view is just because there's a right to do it doesn't mean it's safe to do it. If you're in public with a group of people, a lot of people around you, with your family, sure, go for it. But my request is, if you're alone, don't invite that to yourself. So how would you respond to like both the mother and daughter there?
Oh, good question.
That's honestly a very good question. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to ever go against the mom that wants to protect their child. Like if the mom wants to protect, the mom is only saying it because they want to make sure their child is protected.
Yeah.
And as somebody that has seen kind of what's happening, I can understand where the mom comes from. At the same time, I'm not going to go against someone that wants to stand up for Palestine.
That has the courage to do it.
It has the courage to do it. It's the same thing as, again, Brother Mushtaq, what you're wearing today. right? You have the courage to wear that when you go to the store, when you go outside. I know that people look at you differently. I know that you might get a comment about it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same thing about wearing the Palestine scarf, wearing the kafia, is that you have that courage to do it. If you're going to stand up and look after the community and be like, I want to be that voice for the voiceless, I want to make sure that they understand their solidarity here. Bismillah, you go out and wear that kafia, right?
Okay.
There was the situations that happened in Ontario Parliament, in the legislature.
That's right.
Right?
That's
Sister
right.
Sarah Jama,
Yeah.
right? That wore the kafia in Parliament, right? And that was for the same reason. She got yelled at, right?
Yeah.
But she just wanted to show solidarity. There was
MPP.
MPP Sarah Jama.
Sarah Jama.
There's MPs in Heather McPherson, Matthew Green, Lindsay Masson that were all wearing kafias or wearing pins, right? Salma Zahid, Shafqat Ali, that all have been doing that kind of stuff, right? But it's the exact, they got stood up, they got yelled at, right? So wearing the kafia, wearing anything for solidarity for Palestine, I will never ever say you're doing the wrong thing. But I would also say in that situation, just come with kindness for both sides, both the parent and the child. From the child's side, the parent's not doing anything besides trying to protect you and looking after their own daughter. Yeah. Right. That's all they're trying to do, is just being like, hey, I want to make sure my daughter's safe. Yeah. And on the parent, on the parent side, come from the side of grace. You raised an amazing daughter, and that wants to stand up for justice, that wants to stand up for human rights, that wants to stand up and be that voice when it's very hard to be that voice.
There you go.
Which tells me how well of a daughter you raised in that kind of situation. I think it's both sides there.
Well said. Well said. All right, Producer Kashif, we're coming up. Oh, well, according to the clock here, we've reached the hour mark, but let's get in maybe another question or two. Yeah.
Are we hard stopped at 12, or do we have some leeway?
As long as you're not, we're not.
I'm good as well. So I could talk to a Mushtaq all day here. We're in trouble, Kashif. You're going to be here until Maghrib.
So there's a question on the live stream. I've seen people jump to immediate conclusion that an act against a Muslim is Islamophobia. I don't want to devalue the word like anti-Semitism term has been. Is Islam okay? So then the next, I think they follow up here. How do you know internet intent of someone, and if someone is really a hate crime and an Islamophobia incident? Okay. You know, I've actually, so obviously we share like petitions from NCCM and stuff. There's always those critical people that just, you know, I think they're just arguing for the sake of arguing, but in these WhatsApp groups, they'll be like, of course NCCM is going to say it's Islamophobia because it's good for business, right? It's good for their business and stuff. So how do you respond to those people? But then again, the serious question here is like, how do you know the intent of someone and if it's actually Islamophobia or not? Because it is a very big word, and I can see the audience member that's saying, hey, we don't want to devalue it, like anti-Semitism has been devalued.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
No, I think there's two questions. The first question, the last question that you asked about good for business, I'll be very honest. One of our NCCM's points of work is how do we get out of business? Like I will be honest, it'll be a very good time if NCCM never needs to exist. Well, let's be very frank. If 100%. If I can make NCCM never have to exist because there is no Islamophobia, Bismillah, please take my job. Please make sure that our organization never needs to be there.
Well said.
So that will be the first thing I will say, is that our goal as an organization is to have to not exist.
Yeah.
Is the fact that Islamophobia is no longer there. Muslims are understood and seen as an equal and valuable part of society. Yeah. There's no need for an organization like NCCM. Yeah. That will be the ultimate goal, and I will be incredibly happy to always have that. The second part of the question was, how do you, I think it was, how do we know it's Islamophobia and we don't want to devalue it, right? So those are part of the investigations all the time. Right. And I'll give you a very good example. There was the situation that happened last week in Vaughan where the Muslim brother in his house was shot and killed. Yes. This was not an Islamophobic incident. It was actually a theft. Right. This was his house got robbed.
A break and enter.
A break and entry. Right. And we could have actually made a lot of noise for the situation because a Muslim man was killed in his house. But it's not in our mandate. It's not our mandate. Our mandate is to look after Islamophobic incidents, cases that are coming against somebody because of their race, right? Because of the way that they look, right? Right. A bomb threat to a masjid is Islamophobia. Somebody's attacking a masjid. A situation where a family gets threatened, a pizza owner gets her hijab pulled off and her head stomped on. As soon as the hijab gets involved, it's Islamophobic. Yeah. You're pulling off in a hijab. That's a garment of faith that constitutes Islamophobia. Right. A hijab gets lit on fire. Again, Islamophobia. Yeah. Someone gets told to go back to their country. Someone gets looked at because of what they're wearing. Someone gets their valedictorian speech censored because they want to talk about Palestine. Yeah. right? Those are the lines of where Islamophobia. So if someone gets discriminated against, a hate crime against, because the way they look, the way they dress, the way they talk, their beliefs, anything like that, because they identify as Muslim, that's where Islamophobia comes in, and that's where those situations will result in.
All right.
There's a few more here. I think we might have to be a bit rapid fire.
That's okay, man. We can, as long as you guys are good, I'm good. So you guys are my boss today.
So we were talking about the U.S. Obviously, with the situation in the U.S., people are worried. So, a question that came from Instagram: what is current situation for crossing at U.S. border? Do they ask for phones?
This is a very good question. So I would actually say that if you are going to be crossing the border, there was a video our legal team put out, I want to say like 6 months ago, by Tina from our legal team. So you should just watch that video if you're going to cross the border. It's going to help you with all your kind of situations that do happen. I think it's on our Instagram for anyone that hasn't seen it yet. And then keep one of our phone numbers like handy. Like if you are going across the border, most people are okay with taking their phone. Like I think I haven't heard many cases where somebody's got their phone taken. There are still some, but what I always do when I travel, anywhere I go, is in my wallet or in my like area where I keep my passport, I have a handwritten phone number for somebody. Right. So I keep it from my lawyer, a handwritten number of my lawyer. Keep my number, keep NCCM's number, keep someone that you trust number. Right. Mushtaq, if you're traveling, keep your wife's number and just know that she can call me kind of thing afterwards. Yeah. Or you keep my number directly. Yeah. Right. So like I always recommend, so our past CEO, Mustafa Farouk, I keep his number. Yeah. Because I'm like, he's a lawyer, he'll be able to handle it. He'll pick up the phone if I call him in an emergency. Right. Right. But if you're going and you're scared about that, you're worried about that, make sure you have that kind of handy, keep it in a little piece of paper, put it into your wallet, put it into your passport, or put it in your briefcase, whatever you're traveling with. Good advice. But going across the US, there is a video that's going up there. Talk to your lawyer as well. Like there should be a situation where you're okay. But again, if you have any questions, just give us a call. Okay. Sound advice.
Jazakallah khair. There was a question on the Instagram stream. I think I closed the window. I can't, but I'll try to remember and paraphrase it. So regarding Ontario school boards and the LGBTQ and gender and the curriculum they have and stuff, they were just asking like, what's the update on that and what are the rights of parents?
Yeah, so that's something that we're still working on. Let's be very frank. Like as an organization, we are one that fights human rights. It's very hard for an organization that fights human rights to take away other people's human rights. Right. But where we actually can talk about is just like the parental right to be able to remove somebody from the conversation. Right. So that's a conversation that I think you should reach out to our education team. Talk about what's working there, because there's a full case that's happening on the legal side and on the education side that's actually working on that one.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, at least for the province of Ontario, if I'm not misquoting, it's education is inclusive for all. For all, exactly. Right? So if that inclusivity also includes my child wearing a hijab and my child saying, you know what, I don't want to, for religious purposes, be part of music class or maybe dance class, or maybe I don't want to be taught, at a very young age, how husband and wife have relationships, and I would be excused from those classes, obviously with the parent writing those types of notes, then that's just as supportive of people with, certain gender and whatnot, other issues, right? So inclusivity can mean, hey, you know what? I understand on one end of the spectrum, but I also understand on the other end of the spectrum. All right. Now, Producer Kashif, another question, please.
Yeah, I think this will be the last one for now. So, okay. So I've read about your work on Hindutva extremism, but personally haven't experienced or seen this issue. Am I missing something? What do everyday citizens need to be aware of what are some issues we could experience?
Yeah, so this actually, again, for people that have family back home in India, I think you are very well aware of kind of what this looks like and what that looks like back home. It has been something that has been coming into the Canadian lexicon or Canadian conversation for a while right now.
In fact, it got the attention of the federal government.
The federal government. Okay. And I think we saw that kind of stuff. That I think there was an incident that happened in Vancouver that it was exactly kind of like this kind of conversation. The Sikh community is dealing with this all the time. Oh, all the time the Sikh community is dealing with this. But there's been a situation where it has kind of been ramping its way up into our daily lives. Right, into our daily lives, a conversation that has been kind of happening more and more and more often. If you've seen the report that was put out a few years ago, is a conversation that's been happening. And it's a conversation that us, and along with Justice for All, Brother Taha Goyur there doing amazing work, have been working very closely about it. Yes. Right, because it's been coming more and more in. There's been conversations that we've had. We actually didn't, were you at the advocacy day that we did
I was.
You were at the advocacy that we did, right?
I
So
was.
us, Justice for All, the Canadian
That's
Council of
right.
Indian Muslims,
Yep.
went and actually talked to politicians because of exactly what you said. There's been a very big federal issue that happened, and when Trudeau was our prime minister, it was very close for him.
Yeah.
Right? It was very close when he went to India, and then there was that conversation that happened in Vancouver. It's been a conversation that's been happening, and I would recommend everyone that's been watching this episode just to kind of keep your eye on it, be vigilant, be aware, kind of follow the work that we're doing. We're going to post stuff about it all the time, but also follow the work that JFA is doing, that CCIM
Justice
is
for
doing.
All.
Yeah, Justice for All. So anyone that
Yeah.
doesn't know, Justice for All is JFA. When I talk about it, they're run by a brother. His name is Brother Taha Goyar. Brilliant guy. Follow the work they're doing as well, and we always like work together when it comes to that.
All right. So now, Prince Prakash, if any other questions, last questions?
Not a question, but there's a comment that came on the live stream here. I'm Mushtaq's daughter,
I love it.
Eliza.
I love it.
There you go.
I love it.
She's in the audience.
She's in the
She's in the audience. I brought her.
And
along.
you know, she has a video on with the Golden Gully. She interviewed him, so it's on the YouTube channel. So
Oh,
if
she
anyone has
interviewed
it-
Gully Gully. Ya
Yeah,
Allah.
yeah,
Oh
she's
my
there,
goodness.
She's there.
Watch that.
She's there. All right.
Yeah, I think like overall, like Brother Mushtaq, we've covered a lot of things. I think the number one thing for us as a community is just understanding that, you know, we're not alone.
Yeah.
Right? I think a lot of us, when we go through Islamophobia or discrimination, or, you know, may Allah save it from happening, but the worst day of our life. Like the family in London was the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
The pizza owner, worst day of her life.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when we go through Islamophobia, we feel like there's no help. Right? We don't know where to go. It's the worst day of our life.
Yeah.
And I kind of want people to know that if in that worst day of their life, when you have nowhere else to go, just pick up the phone and call us. Like I often say to folks is that, you know, people ask me like what I do for work. And the very simple thing is on somebody's worst day of life, they're going to give me a call and we will be there for you.
Well said.
Right?
Beautifully said.
So if you're going through that situation, if your kids are going through that situation, and, you know, if your family, your parents are going through that situation, pick up that phone, give me a call, go to the report line, call Brother Mushtaq. He will call me. Call Brother
100%.
Kashif. He has my number as
Yep.
well. I will give you guys my number.
Yeah.
Like Brother Kashif, you can put it in the WhatsApp group. You can put it on the screen. You can put my number there. Call me.
Yeah.
Because we want to make sure that Muslims understand and Muslims know that they're not alone.
Yeah. There's 1.8 million
There's
of them.
1.8 million of us.
Okay.
There's 1.8 million of us, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a promise to us that He will look after us.
Yeah.
That He will look after us. On our worst day, you turn to Him,
Yeah.
and Allah will look after us.
I've always said in many episodes, and I'll frame it this way, and we'll end off. The heart and soul of Happy Strong Family as a weekly live stream, as an organization, is to focus on the fact that no one should suffer alone. No one should suffer in silence, whether it's mental health, whether it's relationship health. And yes, today we talked up with Brother Omar Khamissa, the Chief Mobilization Officer for the National Council of Canadian Muslims, NCCM. No one should suffer in silence when it comes to incidents of Islamophobia. So I started off really frustrated, very vocal, but I'm going to end off on a very calming note, I hope. And that is, again, if you are perhaps in your heart of hearts, after watching this episode, if you're still that bigoted, closeted person, and you still want to do some form of hate mongering or some form of a hate incidents, then let it be known that, yeah, there are consequences. There are consequences for your actions, held up by Canadian law, held up by our women and men in blue, meaning the police force. Now, if you are a Muslim, if you're a non-Muslim, if you wear the kafaya, if you wear the watermelon pin, or if you perhaps wear the hijab, and there has been an incident against you, then go to the NCCM.ca website, report it. If you're a politician, this is a notice for you. There are 1.8 million Muslims in Canada. That is a strong voting bloc. We are no longer second-class citizens. We are not the other. We are not the alien. We are your neighbors. We are your daughters, your sons. We stand on guard for thee. Yeah, we know the Canadian anthem. We sing it with pride. I was born in Canada. Brother Omar was born in Canada. We are Canadian through and through. So let's end on that note. All right, this is Brother Mushtaq signing off for the Happy Strong Family weekly live stream. Tune in and tune in often Sundays, 11 a.m. Eastern. So wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.